Hello and good evening once again, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Third Action. I am your host, Jason, and these are the same three lost souls wandering the land that were here last week. In the bottom left, we have Asher Ford, Human Ranger, played by Char.
Hello. On this episode, I learned how to read.
Hopefully. In the bottom middle, we have...
Oh no.
Greshy Ironroot, played by Will.
On this episode, I did not learn how to read, so awkward.
I'll read to you.
Oh, thank you, Asher. I appreciate it.
And in the bottom right, we have Gunn, Shough, Champion of Rastal, played by Adam.
And everybody.
And yeah, today we got a show for you. Yay! Last time on Third Action, our group of intrepid adventurers. Well, I guess you mostly tied up loose ends at Jorgenfist. You found out that the giants that were sympathetic to Mokmurian had been chased off. The remainder were getting ready to depart for their homelands to the north, across the Cinderlands, back towards like the Kodar Mountains and beyond.
We
Kona
interrogated.
yes, Kona brought you to what's his name? I already forgot his name. Lokenseer, the giant who was responsible for, or who was tasked with committing the ritual killings of those who had been marked by the Sahedron. You didn't get a ton of information out of him, but you did also speak to and reunite with all of the captured or enslaved peoples from the lowlands. As well as some handy dwarves.
We got one very important piece of information out of him, which is that you can deface the tattoo or brand to prevent the Runelords from stealing your soul, or stealing somebody's soul on death.
Yep. It seems as if there's some relation to the shape of the rune, or some importance to the shape of the rune on the flesh, which you had Kona and the giants strip from his body after marring it yourselves. But in any case, you arranged some plans with the giants to deliver some of the townspeople back to the Storval stairs, from where they can get their own travel back to their own individual hometowns. You also agreed to go with them on that journey, and would be meeting with them in the morning. Otherwise you decided to stay the night, get some rest after some long, hard-fought battles that day, and a lot of just general coordination, and yeah, you were pretty tired after all that. That said, so that night, you all bunked up in, they had a spare room near the Oh, actually, I guess you guys said you were going to sleep in the room with the survivors. So you guys stay in the central, like, kind of big dinner hall that the giants had been using. Still smells very strongly of bear, but otherwise the other humans and dwarves and half-elves and whatnot all try to get the best sleep they can after having a nice a decent meal, probably a fairly poor meal, in fact. You each curl up in your own bedrolls. I believe you all have. Yes, you've already used up your tent today, so you don't have the.
We did.
Yep.
So assuming that you each have bedrolls or otherwise just find some spot on the floor to sleep, you all get a long night's rest.
Have
But-
a bedroll, but I also used it to wrap up that scroll, so it might be a little bit shredded by
Sure.
rocks.
Yeah, it's
claws.
not super comfortable. You're definitely like, it's gonna need a
Oops.
need a replacement.
Foot sticking out through the hole.
Well, if I do have a tent if we need it, and
I'll manage.
some sheets. We got some silk sheets if you need.
Gresh is over here in
Oh yeah, you're so
luxury.
Lay out your silks.
Well, I already did my bedroll. I was wondering if someone else had wanted me to do it, but nobody ever wanted me to do it, so I still got them.
Yeah, Greshy is
The
laid
offer
out
still stands. I can make
what
your
looks like a queen bed.
bedroll quite nice. Well, and Phelan's at the top of it because he's acting as the pillow.
Right.
Aw.
It smells a bit earthy, but you know, you get used to it. It's quite comfortable.
I do own a bedroll. That's good.
Yeah, you haven't needed to sleep in
I
it
should
for
think
a
we
while,
all
but
do.
they came in your like
Probably one of the
initial
bags of
adventurers
folded.
packs. It's just a matter of whether or not you got rid of it at some point or defaced it like Gunn
think-
did.
I could have used this in the stupid stalls, and I just didn't do it.
Asher's forgetful like
Wow.
that sometimes. It's fine.
It's like right on the back of his thing, and he's like, I don't have that. Cool, that's fine. I have one. Hooray!
Okay, so yeah, you get on your thank you, Draja. Have a good night as well. Okay, so I need all of you to give me a will save, please.
Oh, fabulous! All right.
I will
Does that
say
include the
that-
critters as well?
No, just the three of you.
Right.
Just Asher,
Okay.
Greshy, and
Oh
Gunn.
boy, a 40. Hell yeah, Will.
Okay, so it was triple 19s.
Just happened.
A 40 for Asher, a 43 for Greshy, and a 42 for Gunn. Okay.
We're
And
so optimistic tonight.
for what it's worth, Greshy gets crit successes on regular successes too. So
Same.
unless that's a failure.
Okay. All right, so I'll go one by one. Asher. Once it doesn't take you too long to get to sleep. You kind of fall asleep with the book on Thassilonian in your hand, still trying to memorize as many words as you can. Just quickly going over paragraphs and paragraphs again and again. And you kind of fall asleep in swimming in Thassilonian runes in your mind. Sorry, I have a bunch of note pages.
I just saw that it was actually triple 19s. Like
You
every
just
single
saw
one.
it?
I mean, I knew they were high, but
Yeah,
All of us
all
got
three
the
19s.
yeah, it
That's
took me a
why I
while. It
was-
took a while for
That's why I
them.
was dying, because it was.
Asher,
Never happened before.
you
Yeah.
You dream of being out in the woods, having a nice, like, delightful camping trip. It's quite nice. Greshy's there, Gunn is there, the two companions that you've grown to enjoy the company of over the course of the last month or so. Shalalu's there too. Things were standoffish with her at first, but now she seems genuinely happy to be in your company. There's a friendship there that wasn't there before. Jakardros is sat across from you, whittling something with his, whittling a small piece of wood with his knife. Seeing the blade etch the wood, you kind of feel like you can feel the sense of fatherliness emanating from him. It feels like a moment with your father that you never had. It's even weird just thinking about him as your father, really. But it's nice just having this moment here with what is ostensibly your family. You've grown up your whole life not having one of these, and to have one now it feels good. At some point it's daytime when the dream starts. The day kind of fades to night. Everyone's kind of gathered around the campfire telling stories, laughing, enjoying themselves. You feel a real sense of love, familial love from this group of people. And while others are drinking and eating of good food, your little Eon Stone is floating over your head. You have a bit of each food, but you don't need to have much. You just take enough to enjoy the taste, and that's it. Others are drinking, and you're just kind of sipping on water a little bit. But not too long into this revelry, a shadow courses overhead, a massive shadow. You recognize the shape. Immediately you jump to your feet, bow in your hand. A dragon is flying overhead, a massive dragon, bigger than any dragon you've ever seen, twice the size of the red dragon whose name I forgot already. Longtooth, thank you. Twice the size of Longtooth, massive, snowy white. He lets out a big roar that echoes through the woods. Your family, your friends, they all freeze up on sight. A chill runs down your spine. You watch as they all begin to crystallize in ice. You feel the entire forest freeze over. But you steel yourself, shake your head, draw your bow, the arrow at the tip alights in flame and frost, and you fire it into the sky. It splits apart, and a warm light just kind of emanates down onto the forest below, thawing everything. The shadow of the dragon disappears, and your friends are all fine. Everything's fine. Your dream continues, and you have a nice, lovely rest.
Oh, no. My good dream save.
Who's next? Greshy.
All my friends are dead save.
Greshy. You and Phelan are walking in a dark cavern. All you have is a simple torch in your hand. But Phelan's right behind you. Your Phelan, your friend Phelan. He's always been by your side from the very beginning, no matter what form he has taken. You can feel his protection behind you, empowering you. A shadow flits out of just out of the corner of your vision. You hear Phelan yelp. He's dragged into the darkness. Someone has taken Phelan from you. You look around, and even your dark vision cannot allow you to see through this this mist that is filling the space. Your eyes grow hot, your ears grow hot, your brain, you feel anger, rage. Lightning starts to well up in your fingertips, and you lose control of yourself. You find yourself in a forest. It's completely ablaze. Smoke fills the air. Flames course from your fingertips. You caused this. You did this. But they will pay. They will pay for what they did to Phelan. They will pay for what they took from you. He was your friend. But you shake your head. That's not right. It's not right at all. You wouldn't do this. You continue to just try and shake this feeling off. The flames from your hands dissipate, and the illusion around you subsides. You spot in the distance, in the mist, a red-haired woman glowering at you. She sneers and turns away, her form shifting back into a snake as she fades into the mist. The shadows depart, and you find yourself back at Sandpoint, just hanging out on the street with Phelan, puppy Phelan, right there by your side, right where the adventure began. You see Asher walking up the road towards you. You have a good dream.
Who's my dream nemesis, I wonder?
Gunn.
Probably myself. Damn it.
Okay, so Gunn, you find yourself engaged in battle in your dream. Rock is flitting around behind you, darting between you and the enemy, helping you block attacks, jumping in at the opportune time. You've worked on your techniques. You feel like you're perfectly in sync together. Your training has built you up to become heroes. You feel like a hero. You feel the shining sword in your hand. You feel your shield emanating the power of your god, protecting you and all that you love. Protecting the community that you have sworn to protect. The community that has shown you great kindness over the years. The community that helped redeem you when you were at your lowest. The figure you're fighting, you can't see who it is. They're kind of cloaked in shadows. You strike at them once with your sword. It cuts through the fabric of their cloak, which tears away, revealing briefly the face of Tsuto Kaichitsu, Ameko's brother. You find yourself in the cave, demanding that he submit, that he give himself up. He refuses. He leaps at you with a flying hand strike, his fist going directly for one of your vital points. You block it with your shield, parry him away. He gets knocked into the cave wall. You lunge towards him, stabbing the sword right through his heart. The blood splatter is great. And he looks up at you, but instead of Tsuto's face, you see that of Nualia. The Azamar woman turned fiendish. She looks up at you with pleading eyes. I never wanted all this to happen, she says. You feel an immense sense of guilt well up in your chest. You pull the sword back, and Nualia daggers falls to the ground. You shake your head for a moment, and what was once Nualia is now Aldern, the Foxglove noble who had allowed himself to become corrupted by the forces of darkness, by the ghosts that haunted his family, by the necromantic energy that suffused itself in his manor. Tears are streaming from his eyes. I just loved her too much. I loved them too much, he says through streaming tears, but then his face morphs into a ghoul. He lunges at you in a fury, the blood seeming to have the gashed wound seems to have healed over instantly. You strike for the head, slicing it off, and it rolls along the ground, and when it comes to a stop, you see the head of Mokburian. His body just a few feet away, jamming the golden doors of the vault. The head looks to you. Yeah, the doors are closing and opening in the background.
I didn't want to disrupt your monologue, but
That's fine. He coughs up blood as he glares at you. Yes. I could not have my revenge, but you will have it in my place. You will kill them all. You'll kill the one who controlled me. Your eyes flare up red. It's all you can see. You lose control of your sword arm, slashing at endless foes, creating a mountain of bodies in your wake. When all the bloodshed finally stops, you collapse onto the floor, or onto your knees rather, heaving breaths. You look back behind you. All of your companions are there, dead. You don't know why they gave into the sin, but they had to be put down. There was no other way. There was no other way. There was no other way. You look back. No, that's not right. That's not right at all. They wouldn't have. You stand up and clutch your sword and look around for hope, for something. You feel a green light off in the distance, warming your body. You accept it into your heart, and the illusion around you fades. You hear a voice. What you were doing was just and right, it says in a soft whisper. Do not let that deter you from your quest. As everything fades away, you find yourself back at the Rusty Dragon, there with your friends, your companions, having just a nice drink. The massive barrel of ale that you left Ameko and company serving up to all the town. What felt like a nightmare quickly passes from your mind and very quickly fades. All three of you enjoy the benefits of a nice long rest. And Gunn, you're the first to awaken. in the morning. And you can see a few of the other villagers are kind of stirring and preparing themselves for the journey ahead. Many seem to be still partially injured, but they should be good enough to walk if nothing that would stop them from doing so. You see Asher
Do I know what that
in
was?
his... do you know what that was? You could
Do I
give
know
me...
what that was?
You could give me a religion check.
I will. We have a 35. I'm a little bit better at religion now.
All right. I think that is enough to know what that is, but let me double check. Helps when I do the right thing. That was that. Let's hold my handy dandy table. Yeah, with a 35, that was the effect of Nightmare, the spell. Someone cast Nightmare on you while you were asleep.
Mystery. A whodunit.
Oh, I know who done it,
Who cast
Ooh.
this nightmare?
but I'm still asleep, so
I'm also
Yeah.
asleep.
I'll take a look at the other two. Do they seem to be sleeping normally?
Yeah, Asher is kind of like sprawled out, like gnawing on a bit of his blanket, drooling. Greshy is just curled up next to Phelan, kind of hugging him tight, or hugging Phelan's like leg. Phelan is huge.
what he can reach.
You don't see Rock. Rock is probably outside. He had went to roost on top of the building before you all went to sleep.
I'll get up and go check on Rock. Perhaps he has recovered from his affliction.
Okay. You head outside. The light streams in from the doorway. There's a thin layer of snow on the ground on this Sunday, Kuthona the 1st, 4707 AR. It kind of flashes across the screen. And you look up to where Rock had perched the night before. He's not there, but you do see a shadow, a large shadow, pass over the ground. And you turn up to look, shielding your eyes from the sun. And there, in all his glory, let's see if I can actually get this right. Sorry, I forgot about camera stuff. There we go. Is Rock.
Chimera.
Yay!
Wow.
His feathers have grown darker. His antlers have grown more and more pronounced. He's developed a black strip across the front of his beak. But that's the eye mark of Erastil is still as prominent as ever. And he seems to be flying quite a bit better than he had been before. And he's...
I'm so glad he's better, and also, you look great.
You hear a... or whatever eagles sound like. Scree. I'm not gonna... I should get my soundboard working again, so I can actually just do sounds like this.
As
But
long as it's not the bald eagle, we're good. That is the
yeah,
worst
bald eagles
cry.
don't sound great. But yeah,
Oh, that looks awesome.
he flies down, lands next to you, and he's, even though he's still, I guess, large-sized, he is bigger than he was before, bulkier than he was before. he like kneels down and just kind of stares you in the eye.
Give him a big hug.
All right, you give him a big hug, and he kind of like one wing kind of comes down over you to kind of reciprocate. You get the sense that he just feels happy to see you.
Yeah. We did something really great together.
Scream! Where's my water? All right. Yeah, he'll.
Yeah, we'll
Once
maybe
he's-
just like cruise around for a while and
Yeah, he'll take you up. You get used to his new size a bit. But yeah, the spell from before seems to have worn off. And in time, the Asher and Greshy and Phelan all awaken as per normal.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great dream.
Of what I recall, it wasn't entirely undisturbed, but it wasn't too bad. I get the feeling Lucretia doesn't appreciate our meddling again.
think it was Lucretia.
Don't know of many other red-headed women who turn to snakes.
She was not featured. Did we all have similar dreams?
Mm.
I didn't see her. I just saw all you guys when we were hanging out.
I caught a glimpse of her for a moment after some strange... Don't quite recall it, but it was not pleasant feeling, but...
I will
Then my dream went back to normal-ish, so...
I will let everybody know that someone was casting on us. Someone who knows our names, and who probably someone whom we've met. Could be Lucretia.
Can you cast it from anywhere? I don't know anything about
I don't know
spell.
what spell it would have been, but...
Someone attacked us with nightmares.
Alright.
I'm doubtful it was Lucretia, unless she prepared so many copies of that spell yesterday.
I couldn't say, but again, not many red-headed women that turn into snakes. This one featured prominently.
Because we only chased her off yesterday.
Hmm.
I just saw a dragon in my dream. I didn't see any red-headed ladies or snakes.
However, I suppose if she knew we were coming, she could have been attempting to use that to chase us away. And why not use it after we completed chasing her away? No reason not to cast it.
Is it a long distance spell, or do you have to be like kind of close? Okay.
Just have to know the name of your
There.
someone you've met is ideal, but all you have to do is know the name.
That's rude.
I was just thinking that. Very inconsiderate sort of spell. Regardless, hopefully that's not going to be a nightly occurrence. Are you prepared to set off with everyone? Gunn, are you going to stick around with us?
Yes. I'm ready. I was thinking about what we should carry with us. If we fetch that tapestry, I can bring that back to Broderick Quink and see if he can assist with translating it.
I mean, I suppose?
I would suggest that I would bring the scroll, which answers questions. But I think the two of you together might be able to figure out some things with it while we're traveling anyway.
And I expect we'll be catching up in a day or two anyway, so
So
it's not
I
like
guess
we'll be without it for too long.
I thought it was going to be as much as a week or 2 weeks.
worth noting, you guys have talked out of character about what your plans
Mhm.
are. In character, all that's been said was that you're going to go with all the not refugees, but all the survivors today.
Well, last night we probably planned at least as much as Gunn is going with, and the other two are going to stay and use the library as long as they can and then catch up before we reach Sandpoint.
I don't see any reason it would take a week.
Isn't it a 2-week travel time to Sandpoint?
Aye, but we'll be outpacing you to catch up.
Yes, it's going to take us 2 weeks, so you could probably move at least 3 times as fast as us. You could stay a whole week here and then still catch up
We could.
if you need to.
So we'll keep the scrolls then.
Yeah.
Alright.
But perhaps perhaps Rock and I can fetch that tapestry down from the cave nearby where it's been stashed.
Is he proper huge size now, or is he still
He's still
large?
large.
Yeah, I think he's large.
Okay.
I don't think the companions get to huge size.
Not without special spells, but
Yeah. But he is full adult giant eagle now. Or before he was kind of like a fledgling.
Keep this. You guys should definitely keep the scroll of Dream Council as well. If you discover anything we need to know, you can use that to call a meeting.
sure.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
I'll take the sending in case there's an emergency. I'll be able to use it to contact you.
Mm-hmm. Dream Council.
We have a scroll of spell immunity. I wonder if that would.
Oh, that's a
I wonder
harder
if it
spell
would
to
make sense
cast.
to use that to avoid any future nightmares. If that could help us with that. How long does that? How does that work? It lasts for 1 day and makes you immune to a single named spell. Probably not going to. And also works on 1 creature only. Probably not going to be valuable against the nightmare attacks, but scrying. Do we have any way to prevent scrying?
Not that I
What
know
do we
of.
need? We need non-detection for that, right?
Something to
There are
start.
Or
spells that
that.
I believe Dawn Detection is an
Oh, that's-
uncommon spell.
It's
non-detection is
uncommon,
uncommon.
so it'd be something we have to.
Yeah, we don't have. We need to research it.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of spells that we could research, given some time, that would really help us out at this point.
Well, I suppose I could spend my time going through Mockmurian's books to see if I could find a spell of the sort.
Yeah, keep the books too. How about this? Transfer the money to the big bag, and I'll take the small bag with just a few things.
All right. We'll just take everything from the
Or-
small bag and dump it into the big bag.
Or vice versa. I can take the big bag, and I can probably jam that giant tapestry in it.
As long as we don't still have a giant in there. Right?
No, we never put the giant in there.
Okay. Just
Yeah,
double
you
check.
never
Shrunk him
ended up
down, remember?
actually doing that.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't end up stuffing a spare giant in there, because that would take up a lot of space. But no, go ahead, take the big bag. That's fine.
All right, I'll take the big bag. We'll transfer all the stuff you guys need to the small bag. and then we'll fetch that big tapestry, and which I think was 50 bulk or 25, but it rolls up nice enough that we should be able to get it in the opening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of the big bag, certainly.
That's good.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So
yeah,
before
that sounds good to me.
before everyone starts to head off, Gunn, you and Rock fly back to that cave. Everything's just as it was. You grab the
and I think the wand that Mogmirian had, I think I could figure out how to use that. Actually, it might help me on the road, protect these folks if there's anything comes after us.
Which one was that?
Energy Aegis.
Energy is? Oh, sure.
We'll deal with all this stuff later, but for now, I'm just gonna carry that with me so that it lasts all day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to use it in the morning and help with escorting and protecting these folks.
As long as you feel comfortable using it, go right ahead.
I think so.
Yeah, just tell me when you're actually using it.
Okay. I'll try it right now, if that's okay.
Okay.
With Greshy watching, do I hold it like this?
Just gonna judge it.
Okay. Yeah, you
I'm
hold
gonna
up the
stand away
wand.
from this.
This wand has, I think I described it as like, it's kind of a twisting wand with etchings of like the 4 elements all around it. You once you feel a little bit confident, you slam it forward and say the magic word.
Aim it at yourself.
And it seems to be activated, but it's like slow working. It's taking a while to trigger. The energy is like building up in it. You watch as like fire and wind starts to swirl around, and water is building up, and little bits of rock or like little pebbles are starting to coalesce around the wand.
I see. I'll continue concentrating on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's working.
Okay. As some minutes pass, do you feel like it's getting closer and closer? You're all sitting there and waiting. Do you allow 10 minutes to pass?
Sure.
Okay. It feels like it's
Greshy
getting ready
knows
to
something's
work.
sketchy at this point.
I think
I've
this
been
should,
standing back, by the way.
I think this should be
watching from
faster than
afar.
this, but it feels like it's working. Should I make any roll of any kind?
No roll required. You feel like it's getting close to working. Like energy is building up here. It looks like it's gonna maybe make some kind of energy shield for you. A bubble starts to appear and expands and starts to envelop you. And you're like, okay, cool. This is the part where it's like gonna like meld into armor on you. But instead, your body starts to wobble. And those watching you witness you just kind of like pop out of existence. The shield and everything all vanish. Gunn, you find yourself in the span of like half a second, you find yourself falling through a sea of flames, a sea of water, tumbling down a mountainside, being flung across a sea of shadows, and then you just kind of lurch forward and stumble, and you're suddenly standing back where you were, and you feel very briefly nauseated, but fine. It felt like you were about to be transported somewhere, but it didn't quite know where to take you.
I hope you don't. May not have this one right.
I was starting to think that when it took more than a minute to cast. Because I knew that it didn't take that long.
Either it's broken, or I'm using it wrong.
Do you mind if I
Or-
took a look at that?
Yes. Why don't you do that? That was
I would like to examine if it's
not what I
broken.
expected.
And assuming it's not broken, I would like to attempt to identify it.
Yes, it does not appear to be broken. It seems like it's a perfectly functioning wand.
Alright.
It's out of juice now, but you can,
Sure,
you
it's
can
been
identify
used.
it. Sure.
Alright,
Yeah.
let's give that a nature roll, see what it is. Oh, that's not too bad. That's a 37.
37. Yeah, that's not a wand of energy aegis. That's a wand of plane shift.
Ah! That could have gone very, very poorly for you, Gunn.
You realize that the four elements are supposed to represent the four elemental planes, and you know that this type of wand, even though it's a wand, you still need a tuning fork tuned
A
to the
focus.
correct the plane that you want to shift to. Otherwise, it does what it just did to him.
Doesn't get you very far. On the plus side, though, if you can get a proper tuning fork, this can be pretty useful.
I'll keep that in mind.
What do you do on the different planes?
I'm
It's
not
an
quite
escape
as-
route.
So what? Sorry, I didn't.
It's an escape route.
Oh, okay.
If we're needing an exit very quickly, we have a way to do so. Though, very quickly being relative, it still takes 10 minutes to cast. But,
Oh God. I thought that was just because.
I thought it might have just been broken.
no, it's, well, it's broken if it was supposed to cast energy aegis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for reference,
Okay,
energy just is 1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and I recognized that, but I was like sticking with it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Going.
I just mean for the audience.
Okay. That was scary though.
That could have been very, very
think I'm-
frightening.
Maybe I'll leave this one with you after all.
Sure, I'll take it. I mean, it's not going to do me any good at the moment, but we'll have it just in case, and who knows? Perhaps we find ourselves a nice tuning fork someplace and go on an adventure into the plane of fire or something.
You have to buy or find a different tuning fork for each plane, or can you
Do we have
one
anything?
for everything?
You need a unique
wanna
tuning
think about it.
fork for each plane that you want to go to.
Did we find anything that might have been such a thing in Mogmirian's stuff? Or can I
not that-
recall
Not that you're aware of, no.
how big would that tuning fork be? Is it like something you could just hold in your other hand?
Oh, aye, it would just be something, it could be literally a tuning fork about
Okay.
yay tall. It could also be a rod of some sort. Ideally, it would just be something that is attuned to the plane that it's associated with.
I want to
Yeah, they can
So I
be
don't-
of varying sizes.
I want to think
yeah.
back. I want to think back whether there was anything in his room that could have been that I didn't notice was special at the time.
You think hard about it, trying to remember the shape of the objects and whether any of them could resonate with different planes, and no, not really.
Okay. I don't think we've missed. So why did he have this? What was he doing with it?
My
And- yeah.
first presumption is that it goes along with the robes that we found.
Could be
It's-
that it wasn't his.
Aye, it could be somebody else's entirely. Could be entirely wrong, of course,
Hey,
but
we got it.
we do have it.
All right. Well, at least we know that now. So,
Good thing we got everything else right.
No mistakes whatsoever.
Not a single mistake I've made.
mhm.
Aye, of course not.
You're all confident in your
Being
identification skills. It's just one mishap. Surely there can't be more.
I think I need something to drink.
I'll be perfectly honest. I
Before
forgot
we
who had
leave.
identified this wand, so I thought it was. I thought it was correct.
I think it
I
was.
had
Was
no
it
reason to doubt
me?
otherwise.
Did I identify
I think
it?
it was. I think it was me.
I couldn't
Okay.
remember. I
And
was
it
just
made sense because he had that spell on him.
Yeah, aye.
And
it
it's
was
a perfect spell for a wand because it targets one creature and lasts all day.
Yep, that is why Gunn thought that. Oops.
I thought it was a good guess, and nobody died. No one was injured. And went on an adventure.
Oh my.
All right. Well, with that squared away, what would you guys like to do?
Let's
The giants and the
Get ready to
civilians
go.
are all getting ready to go. So, yeah, if Gunn is ready,
Okay.
then they can go and depart.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll catch up to them once I fetch the tapestry and jam it in the bag.
Okay. Yeah, you go grab the tapestry and stuff it into the bag, and then fly off to into the mountains to catch up with them. Cool. So you are off on your solo journey with Rock and
Return journey.
Yeah, return journey with the others. All right.
All the
Greshy-
Sandpoint. Sorry, all
yeah.
the Soundpoint delegation came with us. Did the dwarves go their own way, and did the Schwanti?
They're all
go
going to
their
follow
own way?
you out of the mountains. The Schwanti have already left.
Okay.
I think they're all going to follow you out of the mountains, at least the Iron Peaks, which is where you guys currently are. So yeah, you're currently in the Iron Peak Mountains around here. The dwarves, everybody's going to follow you out, and then the dwarves are going to split off to go north on their own. And the rest of you are going over to the Storval Stairs. At which point the giants will peel off. Oh hey, Archives of Nethys is here. Hello, and thank you for making such a wonderful tool. Cool. So
I'm actually using it right now.
yeah, Greshy and Asher, what are y'all up to? What do y'all want to do?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to star 69 a spell?
Good question.
Tracing the magical origin of a spell.
Yeah, like figure out who cast it? Or, yeah, what do you mean?
Kind of like where it came from? Like,
Oh, like star
maybe it's
69
just
on
something
the
you can't do.
on the nightmare spell.
So are you looking for...
Yeah, sorry.
Right, so you're looking for residual on where it was cast from and who cast it, perhaps?
Kind of. I don't know if that's like a thing you can do. Pathfinder or think about or
You think about it. That maybe there's some way to do it. It's potentially possible. Anything's possible with magic. But
It's
you
magic.
don't know of a way.
I ain't got to explain shit.
I figured I wouldn't know. Well,
Yeah, like
that's
perhaps if you
that's a
saw it
thing,
being
maybe
cast, or
I
if the
should look
aura
into
was still
learning.
there, you could potentially try to trace it or follow the aura. But if it's something like Nightmare, which Gunn described basically as having a planetary aura, or planetary range, like there's not going to be any real way to trace that.
So can you like, if someone was asleep next to you and you were awake and you were like staring at them with read magic, could you figure out like when someone used nightmare on them?
Yes, yeah, you would be able to find out when the spell gets
Okay.
cast. Star 69 spell. That would be a good ritual. I'll homebrew it later and hide it in some library.
You need to do it. It should have a high like
Well,
failure
we're in
rate.
a library right now. We should be able to find it here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
you
fact,
can
that's what
certainly
we'll look for.
Here,
do
I'll
some
check for
research
that.
on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not
I'll
a.
return on spells.
I guess Gunn could have given some further information. Nightmare does not have to be cast on them while they're asleep. It triggers when they next go to sleep. So it could get cast on you at literally any point during the day.
So it actually could have been Mogmirian who cast it before he even knew we would find him that day.
Yeah,
Perhaps
so there's a
keep us
chance
connected
that
to
if
the
he
rest.
died, then it would not go off anymore. But it's 50-50 with
So
me
it
whether
could've
or
been,
not
like,
magic works after you die.
Yeah, like anyone could have cast it from the point that we woke up that day to the point that we fell asleep.
Yes.
Mhm.
And they could
That's
be
rough.
literally
What a
anyone on the
rough
planet
spell.
that knows your name.
But they have to know all three of us, so it's got to be someone that we met in the last 3 months that we've been adventuring together.
Should've been
Snake
lying
lady.
about my name. Ooh,
Most
I should've been
likely.
doing that.
Snake Lady, I think there's only 3 real candidates: Snake Lady, Mogmirian, and the Rune Lord himself.
I don't think Harzuk
But-
would.
I don't think he would bother
resorting
with
that.
something. Yeah,
It seems a little petty for Karsuk.
I'll
Rune
give
Lord
you a
of
little
pettiness.
nightmare. Maybe he is kind of petty.
Perhaps he is. I don't know.
After I've taunted them and called them bugs, I'll make them have bad dreams. Yeah, it should have all had your
Alright, so
code
like to
names
spell it out.
going.
Well, here's the question.
Mhm.
If you say like, here's my fake name, does it have to be like, this is the name my father and mother have given me? Or is it like, if you
That's a
go
true
by a
name.
name too much, is that your new name and now they could give you Nightmare again?
Yeah, there's all Asher probably would have read some occult shit about true names and whatnot. Most
That
things have like a
said-
true name, but there's also like soft true names.
They speak the true.
If you use the name enough, yes, it can kind of become your true name. Your soft true name.
Case in point,
It is your true name.
yeah, it worked on all 3 of us. So, yes, that's a yes.
Oh, is someone's name wrong?
Someone's name might not be their real name.
Oh. The mystery deepens.
I think
I
actually,
wonder if it's the person who
Yeah.
goes by the name Gunn.
I mean,
Perhaps,
it could be you,
perhaps.
Greshy. It could be me.
yeah, I would
My
think that
goodness. Okay, well,
if you truly believe it to be your name, then it's your name.
all right, my name's not Asher. I don't know my name, and now no one knows.
Asher's just decided to be the
Good
mysterious
mental
man
trick if you can
with no name.
truly convince yourself.
You might have
Like
to work
Greshy,
on that
quick.
one.
Amnesia me from my name.
Asher, what?
Now that's how you escape Nightmare. I'm convinced. It doesn't matter. Nightmare, we'll figure that out.
Because you
We
have to keep
should
in mind this is the first time Asher's spoken in the last 5 minutes. He's been thinking about all this stuff in his head.
Aw,
And then he just bursts out and says, I need amnesia.
I need amnesia, Greshy. It's the only way. If they don't know my name, and I don't know my name, then it can't be my name, and they can't give me a nightmare. There you go.
But yeah, Cal brings up a good
How
point.
does
You
that
can
make
take
that makes
if you take
sense.
the vigilante archetype, then you can hide your true name that way by having a secret identity.
Oh my god.
Asher is just gonna
Well,
become
You're telling me
Batman.
if you cast Nightmare on Batman,
That's because Batman is the nightmare.
Yeah, it would work if you cast it on Bruce Wayne, but not if you cast it on Batman. Oh, actually, no, it would work on Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
I
Only-
was going to say, it would not work on Bruce Wayne. It only works on Batman because
Yes, it
that's
would-
who he considers himself to truly be.
Yes, if he's in Batman form and you cast it on Batman and he falls asleep as Batman, then it works on him. If he's Bruce Wayne and you cast it
Alright.
on Batman, it won't work. But if he's Bruce Wayne and you cast it on
Glad
Bruce
that's
Wayne,
settled.
it'll work. They're like two different people.
right.
Who are the same person.
So I have to give each of my animal forms a new name and fall asleep as a different one every
What have I
night.
done?
And then I will be immune from
You know,
both
from
polymorph spells.
I
Well,
have to
not
say,
really,
Jason, they make a point. It's a valid point.
Well, you
They
can
just-
always try something.
Asher just has to believe that each form is a different version of him and therefore has a different name and different identity.
We have to name all of the new forms. How many do I have now? I have so many more after my level up. You haven't even seen them all.
I was going to say, I don't think we have.
Let's
Oh, dear.
learn. I'll teach Greshy as we walk to the library. I'll be like, Greshy, did you know? These are all the animals I know now. They're all very special to me and all very.
Asher's learned about all the new animals.
I was reading a book
There's
and there was
cheetahs, and then there's
Ooh.
tigers,
those are
and then
cats.
there's
Greshy.
panthers. They're all cats, you're right.
Did you know that the cheetah is a small cat because it cannot roar, Greshy?
Actually, I did not know that.
Oh,
I only learned that
that's
recently.
they
Um,
eat.
I did too. It was like a couple years ago, perhaps at most, but
So, cat facts is great and all, but
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, are you guys going to the
Continue, yeah.
library or no?
Yes, we're
Okay.
going to the library.
I wish Gunn good luck and try not to get in too much trouble.
All right. So Gunn takes off to catch up with the others. I'll fix where you guys are on the map. I failing, but okay. All right. So Gunn goes off. Asher and Greshy, you go to the library. It's largely as you left it. The Clockwork librarian has has actually cleaned up quite nicely. The space, all the torn and damaged books are back up on the shelves. There's like a pile of books that need to be disposed of because they've been too badly damaged. But yeah, you now have a day's worth of research time. Should you wish to do anything?
All right.
So, what would you like to do?
I have my
Well-
little. Well, I have things I want to look up. I don't know if Greshy also has.
Have you learned Thassilonian yet or not? Because I think you need to spend the day researching first, don't you? Or
If I had-
studying.
Did I have 4 hours last night?
Yes, you got 4 hours last night.
If I had 4 hours last night, then I need 4 hours today
Okay.
to finish up. And then I will be able to do stuff.
So you want to spend that time doing that. I suppose I would attempt to use the scrolls in some way then. But I just need to know which question to ask.
Which
I would like to know more.
the archive.
The archive scrolls.
Remember that is
That
written in
one?
Thassilonian, so you wouldn't be able to understand it.
Oh, it wouldn't do me much good right now anyway. Okay, well,
I believe you tested it while you could read Thassilonian.
that's true. You're right, I did. That's what I forgot about entirely. In which case, since I don't really know Thassilonian, I would suppose I'll just shoot the shit with a robot clockwork librarian for a bit. While Asher's trying to figure out how to read Thassilonian over there.
My
Okay.
picture book.
Yeah, Phelan just kind of chills in the doorway of the library while Greshy is hanging out with the Clockwork Librarian, and Asher is books sprawled out on the table, furiously trying to figure out Thassilonian. And yeah, about 4 hours worth of work, and Asher's finally, with the help of a bunch of other books, like you just kind of grab some other books and try reading a few. You feel like everything's kind of coming together finally. You've mastered some of the grammar fineries of ancient Thassilonian. And yeah, by like around 2 p.m. or so, you finally got like a good grasp on how to read this language. You can go ahead and add Thassilonian to your languages.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
now know one useful language.
Hey,
It's still not perfect
you know
knowledge, so
Goblin, that's
sometimes
what's
I'll have
useful.
you make some checks, but you know enough to
That's fine.
like roughly read most books. You've got like
Translate enough words.
elementary school level reading comprehension on Thassilon.
That might be enough then.
6th
This
grade.
means chicken.
Yeah, something like 6th grade. Yeah.
Ah,
Okay.
sweet. That's most of.
I'll find you some light novels to start reading.
Oh,
Well,
thank you,
with
Greshy.
that out of the way, what would you like to research? Or would you like to do any research, or you want to go leave now? You can always leave.
Goodbye. No.
You can always
Um,
get out of here.
So I have a few things. They weren't like specifically questions, but I would
Okay.
like.
So I
do
guess
you
go
want
ahead
me
and pick
to
whichever
say
one.
all of the things I want to know, or start? Okay.
We'll start on one.
I would like to start with the general history of Thassilon. Thassilon, I think it is.
Thassilon. Okay.
Just like
Well, let's start with the pronunciation
a
of
good
Thassilon.
start. Yeah. How do you pronounce?
How did they pronounce it back in the day? What's the etymology of Thassilon?
Okay, so you want just like a history of Thassilon. So you asked the Clockwork Librarian to
Yeah.
find you some books on this. He already found one. He brings you a couple others. You spend about an hour doing this. Since this one is fairly easy, I'm not going to require a check for it, given that you've got the big-ass library here to do so. And just to get a summary, it's not too hard. So yeah, after an hour or so, you kind of have the good gist of Thassilon. It was founded by someone called the First King Xin, Xin, who reigned for 110 years. He was a human, Aslanti born, from the country of Aslant, which... Ooh, have either of you heard of them? Give me society checks, both of you, to whether or not you would have heard of Aslant.
Right. Oh, that's only a 26.
Same
6.
here.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, neither of you have
Makes
heard
sense.
of Aslant or the Aslanti. Here it describes them as the first great civilized human nation. But it doesn't go into a ton of detail about them. It sounds like they were very powerful magicians and wizards. They had developed their own magic granted to them by the great overlords, and had become incredibly powerful. But the stories about the first King Xin seem to indicate that he was all about learning from other races, where the Aslanti refused to pursue the magical traditions of the elves and the dwarves, and so on. He was a bit more free-thinking, and went on expeditions to elven and dwarven cities to learn their ways and adapt their magics into his own. He developed a large gathering of free-thinking magic users to learn his adapted style of magic. And the Aslanti were not very happy about this. Their racism kicked into overdrive, and he was basically given a choice to either abandon his research or entirely and come back to the Aslanti ways, or they would banish him and send him into exile. He chose exile, and brought with him a large number of followers. They fled across the sea to a new land far away from the Aslanti, which they called Thassilon. He landed at they fled across the Arcadian Ocean, and he founded a city named Zin Bakra Khan. Xin-Bakrakan. I'll type it out later. But Zin Bakra Khan expanded very quickly, and they assimilated very easily with the local human cultures. There's mention of what you assume to be Verizians and Shawanti. They're not referred to with the same names, but they're very similar in the Aslanti don't have the exact same words for the Shawanti and the Verizians, but they're clearly referenced there, and they're described like the tattooed people and the travelers of darker skin for both these races. And yeah, they were brought into the society and helped build up what became Zin's new ideal land, Thassilon. He then created, with the help of his people, a bunch more cities. Zin Adasaril. Sorry, that's not Adasaril, is it? It's Isadril. They have a lot of names. I think it's Zin Isadril. No, it is Adasaril. Yes, Zin Adasaril. Zin Adasaril, Zin Cyrusian, Zin Eurythmia, and Zin Shalast. And it seemed as his goal
We're
was to
kidding
create
about
this...
Zin everything.
Yes, Zin everything. He wanted to create this great civilized paradise, and wanted to educate and elevate the barbarian Shawanti and uneducated Verizians. It's super coded racist stuff, but he had this like benevolent mission to bring up the lower peoples and have them all become one great nation, where the contrary to the Aslanti, who wanted to enslave and subjugate everyone who was below them. So he had kind of the inverse approach. It is said in these histories that Zin sought out the advice and aid of various ancient dragons, some mysterious beings referred to as the denizens of Leng, Leng. These are described as kind of strange people from another world, as well as the goddess Lissala, Lissala. And it is said that Lissala granted him the knowledge, and with all this knowledge that he collected from all these different magical people, he created this new form of magic called rune magic, which was founded on the 7 great virtues. And I guess you can both give me religion checks to see if you know anything about Lissala. If you wish.
I was going to say the name doesn't sound familiar, but
Good luck.
there it goes. Ooh.
27.
27
That's a
and
22 for Greshy.
Neither of you have ever heard of a god named Lissala. It's referred to as female. There's a few depictions in some of the books. I can go and share. There's some cursory information on Lissala here. She's often depicted in this form. This is the upper body of a woman, the lower body of a snake, with runes embedded all over her body, 7 golden wings, and the head of a Sahedron. She's also sometimes depicted as a normal human woman with no face. She's described as being the goddess of, I believe, runes. What did I say? Fate, runes, and rewards. Her domains are fate, glyph, magic, and toil, and her favored weapon is the whip. But she seems to be some ancient, forgotten about god. Neither of you have ever heard of her in any major church. Especially Greshy, you've been to churches before. You've never heard any mention of Lasala. So
No.
whoever she is, she might be a dead god. You don't know.
Definitely not one that's worshipped commonly nowadays, at least.
But yeah, she's described as being a scorned god of the Aslanti, who saw Zin's rise to power as a chance for herself to grow in influence. She helped him create this rune magic based on the virtues, and empowered his empire to help it rise. It took him a total of 25 years to develop rune magic, which eventually resulted in the creation of the Sahedron itself, the seven-pointed star of magical power. And I can show you the original version of that. Woohoo.
Oh, look at that.
We have, so each point of the Sahedron is represented by a school of magic, and a particular virtue. So at the top we have benevolence, which is transmutation, temperance, which is necromancy, kindness, which is evocation, humility, which is illusion, love, which is enchantment, vigilance, which is abjuration, and zeal, which is conjuration. He thought by focusing these schools of magic, you could hone them to their greatest power. Note that divination, the last school of magic, is kind of missing, and he kind of it was sort of viewed as being outside of this system and something that the gods granted, not knowledge and power. Of note, there's some talk about the how his schools of magic worked, is that by focusing on a particular school, you had to, if you wanted the truest form of zeal magic, you had to give up its two opposing schools, which are the two opposite points on the star. So conjuration and zeal, you had to give up kindness and humility, or not focus on those. So conjuration is opposed by evocation and illusion. Necromancy is opposed by abjuration, enchantment, etc. By foregoing two of the types of magic, you could strengthen the third type. And though he enjoyed the knowledge of all types of magic, he thought it would be beneficial to have 7 great lords in his government that would each focus on their particular virtues and become exemplars for the people. So he sought out his 7 of his most dedicated students and companions and granted them the ranks of Runelord. And these were to be the people who were the most virtuous of that particular type. So the Runelord of Kindness, the first Runelord of Kindness was Alderpash. The first Runelord of Runelord of Kindness was Alderpash, who took up residence in Zin Bakrakan. The first Runelord of Vigilance, of Benevolence, was Caladerne. Again, I have these names written down, so I can give them to you. But yeah, the first Runelord of Benevolence is Caladerne, who took residence in Zin Shalast. The first Runelord of Temperance was Califesta. She took her residence in Zin Gatash. The first Runelord of Love was Sorshan, and she took up her residence in Zin Eurythnia. The first Runelord of Vigilance was Naft, and she took up residence in Zin Isadril. The first Runelord of Zeal was Ziri, Xirie, and she took up residence in Zin Haruka. And the first Runelord of Humility was Zandergul, with an X. He took up residence in Zin Cyrusian. And it seems like he ruled over, Zin ruled over Thassilon for 110 years, until he basically retired from the public life in his old age. He grew very paranoid as well. And eventually, he retreated to the capital city of Zin, Zin City, if you will, where he basically holed up himself in the palace and did lots of research. And one day, his palace exploded, and nothing was left behind. The entire city of Zin was pretty much obliterated off the map, and the Emperor was dead. In his place, the 7 Runelords, who by this point, without Zin's guidance, had corrupted their powers from virtues into sins. They had all found that, they had each individually found that by harnessing the negative aspects of their chosen virtues, they could actually become more powerful than before. So they corrupted the Sahedron into the sinful Sahedron, which is as follows. Which is, the usual greed, gluttony, wrath, pride, lust, envy, and sloth. Yes, Zin failed his profession role. And yes, it's here that the word for yes, the dark side is stronger. It is canon. Yes, that is correct. So the virtues had been corrupted into sins, which were derived from Zin's own name, almost to spite him. So began a long history of infighting and I guess just strife and conflict between the Runelords. There have been a number of Runelords of each type. If you want more information on that, you can do some research. Otherwise, the history continues until basically it just kind of stops. In the general histories that you find, there's not really any mention of what happened in the end. Things seem to be going fine, and then suddenly they're not. So if you would like to do any more research on the end specifically, or on any particular topic that has been mentioned, or on anything else, you can spend an hour doing some research in the library. So that's what you get after, I'll say that's like 2 hours of research to just get like the general gist of what happened.
Yeah, when does it end and when does our timeline start? Is there like a noticeable gap?
Give me a society check.
Years, are they different?
Yeah, give me a society check. The year numbers are different, but you can try to make a guess.
Oh, no!
That one.
Oh, no!
So the Aslanti Empire ended last year. Thassilon's actually still ongoing.
Yeah, so
I want to
natural.
re-roll this.
You can use a hero point if you wish on that natural one.
Yeah, I'm gonna use it.
Ah,
All right.
want to know.
Not much better. It's 24.
24. Okay. With
But
the
you still
help
have dubious knowledge, so
with the help of
But I
the
don't think I've-
librarian, And you find as many books as you can. Their naming system for the years seems to be quite different from your own. AR is Absalom Reckoning, which is after the death of... Right, isn't Absalom Reckoning after the death of Eridan? I believe so. Who's the god of fate. Or not god of fate,
right.
the god of prophecy. So since the god of fate, or the god... Since Eridan died, all prophecies have had... ceased to fully function. You can get a prophecy,
All prophecies
but
are
there's a strong chance that it might fail. Or give you the wrong answer. But before that time, prophecies were very accurate.
Are prophecies that were made before that time, but have not been fulfilled, still accurate, or did they?
Those also became
The
inaccurate.
chains of fate broken.
Yeah, the chains of fate were just kind of fully broken at that point. So that's why they call this the Age of Lost Omens. It's because Eridan's death has left all omens are now null and void. Effectively, like they might mean something, they might not. Who knows? But that's what Absalom Reckoning is. I think year 0 is the year he died, or the year roughly he disappeared. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's correct. But their years seem to be based on something else. They have like Thassilon years, and piecing it together, your guess is that this could be anywhere from like it's definitely before. There's not a lot of. There's some mention of Eridan himself taking the throne in Aslant in some obscure books, but the dates are hard to kind of line up. Your guess is that it's somewhere between like 8,000 and like 15,000 years ago.
Okay, so a long time ago.
Yeah, a very long time ago. There wouldn't be anyone alive today that would have lived back then outside of some special means.
Gods.
Yeah.
Turns out Broderick Quaint.
Quink! He's Broderick Quink! Damn it.
No, I've decided it's Quaint.
Quaint.
No.
He's so quaint.
So yeah, it's pretty much just kind of everything seems to end at just like end, and there's no real end
Yeah.
to anything.
Yep.
The books just kind of stop.
Yep.
Is there any notation or research about possible ends of the world? If everything suddenly stopped, that sounds like something dramatic happened.
Well, Greshy, the world's still here.
You can do
Yeah,
some
that's a fair
research
point,
on
actually.
the end of the world or apocalypses if you wish.
Are there multiple apocalypses?
There may have been.
Apocalypti?
Apocalypse?
Apocalypse?
You could, if you
Apocalypse.
want to research this, it'd be a society check. Or religion, either.
Well, I'd be happy to research it. I think it'd be about...
Sure. I'd allow you to do it through Asher. But you'd have to do it at the same time.
Okay.
Oh,
Because you
hell.
can't read the
Right.
books.
Right. So that would be cooperation. Let's do
For
religion.
your eyes.
Religion's slightly better. Oh, that's a natural too, so I'm going
We're
to leave.
so good at research.
We're very good at this.
Are you going to leave that as a 2?
The 22.
Okay.
No, I'll go ahead and re-roll it. Sure.
Alright.
I'll use my
That'll be
hero
a
point.
1. Oh,
It's
thank
not,
goodness. That's much
it's a
better.
bit better. 37.
Okay, natural 17 for a 37. So thinking on it, you direct Asher to and the librarian to maybe find some books and references on prophecies of the end of the world or the end times, and you end up with a pile of books from 2 distinct religions. One of them is the Lysalan Church, so obviously followers of Lysala. The other seems to be from a group called the Thoracic Order. That's THERRASSIC, like Jurassic, but thoracic. They seem to be followers of something called the Peacock God, or the Golden Peacock, or the Peacock Spirit. It seems to change in a bunch of different places. The Peacock Spirit is, or the Great Peacock Spirit is the most common reference to it. And you'd actually remember that this library was referred to as the Thoracic Library. So this might be built by that order. But in any case, you look through these books, and you actually do come across a few references to a prophecy of the Earthfall. The references are vague, but it's stated that due to the hubris of man, a great calamity will strike Galarian. And it's not clear what this calamity is, but you do find a few references to the Runelords knowing about this. And it seems to be only in the later books that this is even referred to, really. And there's a few references to the Runelords making preparations in the event of the Earthfall. But it seems to be that the knowledge of what those preparations are exactly, or the knowledge of exactly what this Earthfall was supposed to be, don't seem to be privy to any of the people writing this. It's a lot of hearsay.
Alright. Lots of legend and lore, but not much fact here.
Yeah, it seems like something is going to happen to cause great calamity, and the Runelords were aware of and prepared for it. Or in the midst of preparing
especially
for it.
as you said.
Bunker. A Runelord bunker.
Some sort of Runelord bunker. And you did mention the Peacock Spirit. Did that monk have anything to do? The mummy?
The black monk.
Did they have something to do with the Peacock Spirit or God? I recall seeing some sort of imagery or something.
I do remember something peacock related a long time ago, but I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, you do remember
I mean, it would be on the scrolls as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you do have some of the
Was it the
scrolls.
scrolls?
And you do find some distinct peacock imagery, or at least like small peacock feather motifs here and there. You might remember some of that being on the big tapestry as well. And I think the golden certificate also just mentions the Thoracic Order by name.
Just interesting, right? This.
Is there a book on that?
Well, I'm starting to wonder now if this Thoracic Order brought about whatever this Earthfall was. Especially if there was some sort of actual prophecy, and this being during an age when prophecies actually happened. If they've worked about to bring this Earthfall to happen and then were prepared for it. That might be why Karzuk still lives. If he was one of these worshippers.
No wonder they're all so crazy with all these prophecies where they have to do stuff. I'm happy to live in a time where we don't have that kind of crap. Asher stuff.
These terrible prophecies just weighing over your head the whole
It's
time.
been an awful time. Always like, here's what you gotta do now, because it's gonna happen. But anyway, is there a book, since this is the Thoracic Library, about that order?
Yeah, you can, with relative ease, you can find some books about the Thoracic Order without doing a check. And combing over those for an hour, you learned that the Thoracic Order was founded by the Runelord of Humility, Xandergul. That's Xanderghul. Eventually the Runelord of Pride.
I was going to say.
He founded this religion to the Great Peacock Spirit, whom he was said to be in personal communion with. And yeah, he basically built up this massive order dedicated to the Great Peacock's splendor. And he was Xandergul himself was known to be incredibly handsome, loved by all. He was a massive patron of the arts. Zin Cyrusian, where he his city that he held control over, was just a massive, splendiferous city full of nobles and elites. He also established the Order of the Green Feather, who were his like personal knights, and established the Thoracic Order, who were tasked with devoting themselves to the Peacock Spirit and spreading the Peacock Spirit's knowledge throughout the lands. He also seems to be the only Runelord of Pride. He seems to have lived a very, very, very long time, and there were no other Runelords of Pride during the timelines that you find.
I caught that was the same name, and also at least one of the others.
Yeah, I think. Is it Sortion? Was the
Sortion.
one?
Yep.
Maybe. I may have just made that up. Thinking
No,
No, Sortion was
Sortion's correct. That was the Runelord of Love / Lust. You haven't seen any reference to any other Runelords of Love or Lust. She seems to also have lived a great deal. You could do more research on her if you want, or on Xandergul specifically. But the Peacock Spirit, that god, you also, if you did some checks on it, you wouldn't know who that god is. You've never heard of them. They might be a dead god, or just a very lesser known one. You're not sure. But it claims that Xandergul was the first to ever meet this Peacock Spirit and spread his message throughout the lands. And it was a major rival to the cult of Lasala. So they were in direct opposition to the Lasalan church.
And he was the Runelord of Pride, you said.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Originally humility.
And he was the only one who talked to the spirit, huh?
Yep.
He was really set up for success and being really handsome and in that elite town with his own personal army.
Oh, why?
He was set up for humility, you know?
Oh,
They
of
really
course.
did a good job prepping him for that.
It was good of him to be so humble this whole time.
Did the other Runelords have religions separate from? I shouldn't necessarily be.
Well, one of
maybe
the
you
topics.
would. Maybe you would think of looking at stuff like that too.
Yeah, eventually, one of the topics I did want to get to is like generic facts about each of the Runelords. But now, considering things, there may have been multiple.
Can we get like the
ones.
top 20 facts you didn't know about the
top 20
Runelords?
Runelords. Top 20 facts on those Runelords.
Just, have it be like a slideshow and have a bunch of pictures that pop up. Probably get like a little blurb.
If you want
about
to do some research on the
something very
Runelords
generic.
next, that would be, you could do that kind of like overnight into the next morning, if you want.
Okay, are we gonna sleep, Greshy, with our nightmare?
Especially the two that we've I wouldn't say encountered, but have been most central to the.
Well, I'm willing to take a risk of it.
Greed and Wrath are the two?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can research throughout the night on that, because I find that to be important, probably.
As long as we get to Nights of Rest afterward, I don't mind.
Yeah, I'm
Continue
saying
on.
you'll it'll basically run you over into, like, you'll read some, go to sleep, wake up some, and then you'll have some research.
Okay, then that'd be fine.
Okay.
Wouldn't mind that.
So Moonday Kuthona II. By the time you guys are done with your research you wanted to focus on just Karzug and Elasnist, or did you want a general overview of all the Runelords?
I would definitely want to focus on Karzug I wouldn't mind knowing more about Zandergould. We're
I
seeing a lot
wanted-
of connection there
yeah.
too.
So I'm like, I like general overview with focus on Karzug.
Because I'm starting to wonder. Adam mentioned about like having a bunker, or maybe it was Char. He mentioned
Oh, yeah,
about a bunker.
The Runelord bunker.
Well, that's not a bad idea. And what if? What if Zandergould had a bunker, and Karzug stole it?
So the bunker.
Greedy.
He's greedy, and I mean, if for some reason Zandergould was doing better at figuring out how to deal with whatever was coming, why figure it out for yourself when you can steal someone else's?
Yeah, they're probably pretty crappy leaders. So like,
There's
And
envy. Envy.
I admit, I am assuming that they were hostile to one another. They did
well, I
not
think
seem
it
friends.
was said, wasn't it, that they were fighting?
Yes, all
they seem to have-
the Runelords seem to be engaged in conflicts with each other from their own
So-
territories.
So I definitely
They're
don't.
so stupid. Like in high school.
So
But yeah,
suppose
either-
that the Zandergould.
For this period, either pick 2 Runelords or you get an overview of all of them.
All right, Greshy, what do we want to pick?
Well, definitely Karzug. Do you want Elaznist or do you want Zandergould?
I mean, you guys can keep researching after.
Xanderpool. Yeah.
No,
let's
this is
let's
it.
Look at these
This is
two
the end.
guys. We'll start with them, and then we'll whittle our way backwards.
So Karzug and Zandergould then?
Yeah.
Okay. Karzug. Sorry, I'll do Zandergould first. Since I'm already looking at it. Karzug, yes, seems to be a close companion to the first Emperor Zin. He wanted Zin Cyrusian to become a paradise for the elites of Thassilon.
Sorry,
he-
Zandergould did?
Zandergould, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Zin was more about just the overall idea of building this great society founded on cool magic, and Zandergould's focus was specifically building up Zin Cyrusian, his city, to be just like the cool place for all the hip elites to enjoy art and fine dining and all sorts of nice things. And yeah, he is described as being incredibly beautiful, incredibly handsome. All who've spoken to him were charmed by his intellect and wit. He established the Thoracic Order and the Order of the Green Feather. He also killed 3 other Runelords in his time.
Oh.
He killed Angothane, who was the 2nd Runelord of Wrath. Atherend, who was... Where did Atherend go? Atherend was the 2nd Runelord of Gluttony. And Jura, who was the 4th Runelord of Envy.
Poor
They had...
Envy seems to be dying a lot.
Yeah. Maybe there's reasons why Envy has a lot of Runelords. At some point later in his... at some point during the Thassilonian Empire, he ended up claiming birthright over the Aslanti throne back in Aslant, and was said to be preparing to move to the capital to take the throne, but was apparently beaten to it by the great human hero Eredin, who eventually became Eredin the god. So this is actually quite a ways back before Eredin was even a god. And yeah, it seems like he had some kind of weird rivalry or something with Eredin, or was very snippy about it. And interestingly, there's a lot less mentions of Eredin after that little bit of history. Almost as if somebody didn't want anybody to know about it. But you do find out about
We
this
don't
in
talk
those
about
books.
him.
But yeah, he's known for... Zin Cyrusian seems to not get into a ton of conflicts directly. They his intense authority and power seems to have kept that city at like safe for quite a long time. And in the end days, yes, he was known to be preparing for whatever this calamity that was coming. Karzug, he is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Sorry, 8th. Karzug was the 8th Runelord of Greed. Born as a slave in the city of Malistoke to some lich named Zinlun, Zinlun. He...
Wait, liches can have kids?
That explains his face.
No, he was a slave to the... He was born as a slave.
Oh.
The lich was the
Never
overlord, but
mind.
not his,
Okay.
not his parent.
Like,
Sometimes when the lich loves somebody very much,
Well, who am I to say?
Sorry, I read that in my note form. I could have said he was born as a
Another
slave
person.
underneath the lich, not to the lich.
this is where he takes his
puns
pinky toe
that could be made.
off and that
Well,
grows and becomes a person.
Okay.
Asher just misread it. He was like, wait a minute.
Karzug apparently, built himself up from nothing. He was a slave, escaped, became an apprentice to the prior Runelord of Greed, Haframa, Haphrama. But he killed Haframa as well as a fellow apprentice, Vage, Vhage, after siding with these mysterious people, the denizens of Leng, who were offering the Runelords of Greed some kind of ancient mysterious power to give them a one-up on their enemies. After he ascended to Runelord, he went back and razed Malistoke, and just completely nuked the place. There's tales of magic artillery bombarding the place for months on end until it was a massive crater in the earth. And in its place, he amassed the Storval Deep. He filled it with water and built a massive dam to drown to keep them underwater for centuries. So
there
suddenly
they are over there.
he used the skulls of all the people that were there to as engravings on the dam itself. So all those tiny little skulls that were in the dam, those were all the people of Malistoke, and all the skeletons and shit. There were a bunch of undead too. It was Lich King.
So obviously, to excise this evil, we should go and destroy the dam.
Maybe.
I mean, surely.
We should suck the water
Hey,
out.
that
and
gives
then
us,
destroy the dam.
that gives us some alignment points for the two maps.
Yes, it does.
Oh yeah.
You'd be able to line up Skull's Crossing, which is over here, and the Storval Deep. So Malistoke must have been somewhere in the Storval Deep, and Skull's Crossing was built with its with everyone's remains.
How lovely.
He's mentioned as constantly being at war with the city of Bakrakan, which was a Lasnist city. Him and Alasnus had a very intense rivalry. They were neighbors. They had adjacent territories. And while Karzug's territory was also adjacent to Bellamarius, the Runelord of Envy, but he kind of kept putting off fights with Envy to deal with Wrath. And they were just at a constant war, constantly battling for territory. And I think that's... his city was Zinshalast, which was a magnificent golden city built at the peak of Mahar Massif, and the tallest mountain in the world.
Which is no longer around here that we can see.
Correct.
No. It must be somewhere.
Perhaps, but have to go out and find it.
Probably exploded.
So that's your
Entirely
info
possible. Depends on
on
whatever this.
It was a volcano.
That's your Karzug
It's actually
and
underwater now.
Zandergul stuff. So what do you want now?
Probably the Wrath stuff. It seems like
The
she was
Grapes of
the
Wrath?
second one. The Grapes of Wrath. I'm assuming she was more down towards Sandpoint, but figuring out, especially like if we keep getting ruin landmarks.
I was going to say, it wouldn't be bad to see if we could do some research on what those marks that Mokmirian had on his map were.
Like what would be there?
Mm-hmm.
So the maybe
Hell
starting at the old light, because that's circled and going up from there
Mm-hmm.
might be a start. So yeah, are there books on giant, I don't know, the ruins when they weren't ruins?
Giant pre-ruins.
You'd have to give me something more specific than ruins to look for.
Hellflume?
Health room?
Sure.
If I
you can look up
recall,
the Hellflume.
can I be a ping in Asher's mind?
Sure,
One of
if
the
you
books that you were trying to leave with and that you saved with a nice dex roll, wasn't it an atlas?
Yeah, there's an atlas. I figured that might have some locations on it, but if we could start actually at the Skulls Crossing, if it's anywhere in an atlas, and try and trace from there where things are.
Okay. Give me a nature check then. Try and align these.
Goodness.
And Greshy can help if he wants.
Sure, I will assist. Or aid nature. Oh, that's a, 22.
That's a success.
Here I come.
That works.
Ah, yes, a 22.
Also a 2
My
for 22.
favorite number.
Okay. So the map that you've got of Thassilon has a lot more landmass than Varizia seems to. You're able to kind of roughly line up where Skulls Crossing is today with where you think where Malistoke is listed as being on this map. But there is no, like, Skulls Crossing itself isn't called out. It seems to be a map pre-raising. So you're not really sure exactly how it's supposed to align because you just have one pivot point. It could be in any kind of orientation. The mountain ranges don't really line up with exactly what you would think. You can see that Elasnus territory does butt up against Karzug's, and that Bella Marius is like the next one to the north of that. If you were to try and guess at where Zinshalast is, it's probably somewhere in the Kodar Mountains, which are... I didn't move. They're just up here to the north, past the Storval Plateau. I think I can probably move it down.
Up where it's cold.
They're right before. So the region beyond Varizia to the north is Irisen, I think, and that is like the Winterland. Yeah, if I move this down a little bit, you can see where the Kodar Mountains are. Further to the north. So your guess is that it's somewhere in the Kodar Mountains, but you wouldn't be able to really pinpoint it like this. And you don't recall there being a mass. Like, there's a lot of big mountains in the Kadar Mountains, but none in particular that strike you as like the largest in the world, or that you don't know. Like, there could be the tallest mountain there could be the tallest one in the world, but you don't remember if it even has a name. There, so.
So the hell flume, is that what we're looking up?
Hell flume?
Hell flume?
Hell flume? I think that's or hellstorm flume.
Yeah, you can try looking those up. Give me. If Gunn was there, it'd be military lore, but otherwise, probably just society.
Sure. How bad could this be?
Hey!
That's a natural 20 for a total 38.
And a 17 for 33.
Okay, so with this idea that popped into your heads about the Hellstorm or Hellfire flumes, Hell flume, whatever they're called, they seem to have multiple names. You do some digging, and there are some references to Elasnist having constructed a series of these along the border of her territory and Karzug's. And they are described as massive towers that were capable of creating flame from thin air and raising armies that could onslaught or that could attack. And these,
Oh my god, they were lasers.
yeah, they were big laser lighthouses basically. And
oh my god.
there were 4 of them created along the borders, and they were architected by a follower of hers known as Zaliasa, Xali, whatever.
That's going to be my next question. Xaliasa.
Yep. He seems to have been the one of her like major engineers.
Why is he a traitor?
You could try to spend
So
time looking at
my
research on him if you
wild
want.
guess. One quick second before I do that. I'm going to make a wild guess that she didn't win much of anything because it looks like her side may have gotten like nuked into the water. If that's where the 4 towers were, like where his land was.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she did not win whatever fight this was.
It doesn't seem that way. Do you think Zaliasa was a traitor?
With that note, Asher, you do remember the big Thassilonian monument in Magnamar is a giant bridge out into the bay that is like, there's only half of it. It's the Ire span. It certainly seems like something could have hit there and absolutely destroyed everything and turned it into the bay.
Oh dear.
That's a big area too. To just was her can we find this on the map? The old map? Like
Her city
area. Is it labeled? Yeah.
Yeah, her region, which was Zin Bakra Khan, is adjacent to Karzug's area, Zin Shalast. It's a little rough to try and guess at where it is, but yeah, it's reasonable to say something like, I don't know, that is wrath, and something like that is greed, and somewhere over there is envy.
Up there. Okay. So she was initially, was she coastal and then she became waterfront property for everyone else? Does it kind of look like that?
She's not coastal at all.
Okay.
Oh, actually, she is coastal, but very far. Zin Bakra Khan itself the capital city of Bakr is on the coast, but it seems to be a much larger land map. Like her territory is actually much bigger than Karzug's on that map that you have, which is way more territory than it looks like she would have here. Off to the east, the west here is just ocean on your modern maps. So her territory was out in the ocean, as was a couple of the other Runelords seem to be out in the middle of the ocean somewhere.
So a lot got sunk in the meantime.
That's
Well, Earthfall.
Yeah, Earthfall.
Whatever
Could've
that
just
was.
sunk. Could have been a bunch of stuff.
True. Could have been something small and it just escalated and they all just destroyed each other.
To the south is it ocean on? It's hard to tell from this map.
To the south, I believe, is a bay. So this is kind of the end of Varizia here on the south. I think to the south of that I think there's a big bay, and then there's Cheliax, the demon worshipping kingdom.
That sounds right.
They are.
The city of
It has to be more
Corvosa. Where's Corvosa?
I believe that's more
maybe
southeast.
there might be a little bit more Varizia here to the south. Let's see if my map has it. Nope. Where's Corvosa? Oh, Corvosa is over here.
Corvosa's all the way over here.
Corvosa was a Chiliaxian city when they tried to invade Varizia, and they're a big reason why why there's a lot of racism towards Shoanti in the modern day. They kicked the Shoanti out, and did a bunch of bad shit to the Varizians too, and everybody just kind of hates the Chiliaxians. But Corvosa was their big
Well,
city.
it's because they're demon worshippers.
And yeah, Corvosa, I think, is just to the south of this. So there's a bunch of continent here to the south and to the east, but not to the west currently.
This area got chunked off somehow.
Yes.
Whether that be from the worldly prophecy event or from people nuking each other or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that the land has changed dramatically.
That explains why these maps are so hard. Where are we going with that, Greshy? Are we going somewhere?
So it is currently
With the
10:42. Do you guys still want to keep going?
Yeah, I
with
just
knowledge
thought
We
that.
should
today?
probably wrap it.
Or do you want one more question?
We think of a good question.
Well, I was going to do more research into who Zaliasa was.
Oh, let's do that.
Okay. Sure, that seems like a good place to end for the night. Sorry, Adam. Gunn is out walking.
Oh,
Poor
good.
Adam.
Not a lot has
This
happened.
Gun has a much
this
more
is totally
exciting
fine.
adventure next time.
I'm learning all this stuff too, and they'll tell it to me when we catch up, so we won't have to go through it twice. But
Yes, of course.
I'm just as absorbed into learning this as everybody.
Yeah, so having Zalias's name and his association with the Elasnist, you do some digging into just who is this guy. Your research pops up some very interesting things. He seems to have worked for both Karzug and Elasnist at various points in his career. He shows up in a couple of books from the Greed territory. He shows up in a couple of books from the Wrath territory. In both places, he's kind of referred to as a double agent. These are very obscure books as well. But it seems like he's done some maybe double or triple dealing or backstabbing. And at the end, the last thing that you can find is that he's finally turned his back on Karzug and helped construct the flumes. He's also mentioned as being one of the few who have been allowed to study at the Runeforge. and this is mentioned under in one of the Zin Shalast books, that Karzug granted him allowance to study it there at the Runeforge on his personal request. There's not much mention of what the Runeforge is in that bit of research, but it seems like it's some place where one can go to study magic, and that one needs to be allowed express permission to do so by a Runelord.
Go ahead.
There's mentions of a few.
Take the time to
Say
take the
what?
time to research that too, if you want, and then we can call it on that. Maybe.
Yeah. Do you guys want to quickly look into the Runeforge, or some additional details on the
Let's
Runeforge?
do it.
Sure.
Okay.
Very quick. Give us
If we
the
could find
Spark
anything,
notes.
I'd be
Yeah,
happy
you
to.
can do some deeper digging later if you want. But actually, go ahead and give me a society check or Arcana.
It's been going to be about the same, but
Yeah.
for variety, I'll do Arcana. Natural 8 for a total of 26.
Yay, a 5 for a 21.
Okay. So information on the Runelord or on the Runeforge is very scant. It seems to be a place that was created by all 7 Runelords as some kind of neutral ground to study magic. There's some early references to it as being this grand place where adherents to any of the methodologies or any of the schools of sin magic could go to enhance their studies and learn from the very best practitioners. And that over time it seems to have become a more and more select few. The class sizes dramatically shrunk over time, and eventually there's references to it kind of being more like a research laboratory than an academy during some Runelords' reigns. But it's clear that you find some mentions that the Runelords actually wove some unique wards around the Runeforge to bar its entrance to any other Runelord or their direct agents, in order to keep this this study secret or safe from interference by the other Runelords. So it eventually became just only a very small select few who were known to be direct hands of the Runelords were allowed to even go in there, and the Runelords themselves were no longer allowed to go. So it was a true neutral ground. You were not allowed to do anything to the other Runelords people while you were there. It is just for pure. It's talked about as this a space for only the purest and freest of magical thought to occur. But its location seems to be a mystery, or at least seems to not be referenced anywhere. There's a lot of mentions of the Runeforge. Well, not even a lot of mentions. There's the occasional mentions of the Runeforge in various places, but yeah, nothing even comes close to stating where it is. And there's nothing on any atlas or map that you see. Its location is known only to those who know it. And how to get in is also only known to them. And I suppose with that, we should go ahead and end the session for today. So, with some knowledge of the Runeforge in hand, and a bit more information on Zaliasa and so on, we will continue next week with more lore dump. So, hope you guys enjoy the plot. It's all coming at you all at once. This is how they get you. They don't show you any lore for the first 4 books, and then at Book 5 comes here.
Then it's a library.
Just I like
I
hit
was
you with
surprised.
with the book. But
It's like, when are we gonna learn about this
Shough.
stuff? And apparently, it's now.
yeah,
Yes.
literally now. So learn what you can while you can.
Leading you by the nose all the way
Mhm.
here.
Yep.
Because maybe that means we'll finally get a moment to rest up and rearm ourselves without having to be rushed off somewhere.
Wouldn't that be
Maybe.
nice?
Perhaps. All right. Well,
Perhaps.
with that said, see you guys next week. Thanks for playing. You can always find us on YouTube, youtube.com/thirdaction, Twitch at twitch.tv/thirdaction. We play Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah. Thanks. Hope y'all had fun. Good night.